What I hold in my hands is likely one of the rarest physical video games of all time. One of the rarest Nickelodeon pieces of merchandise to ever exist, and quite possibly the only one of its type to exist. Yes, this is official despite what it looks like. What I hold in my hands is the physical release version of Barnyard Sherlock Hooves for Windows, and I bought it brand new. This was made specifically for me by a Nickelodeon licensed publisher. Okay, let me tell you how I got this. Licensed video games are nothing new. I guarantee you know this. Whether from having played them yourself or watching my last video on LJN, please watch it. Many are low quality, often made more to advertise the initial product and make a quick buck than to make something great. There are exceptions, don't get me wrong, but the majority aren't that good. While these once dominated game consoles, they've taken a backseat to the much cheaper to make yet more profitable mobile game market. But between these two markets are web games. You know, games that you play on the web, hence the name. Flash games are what come to mind for me, and these were big from the late 90s to the early 2010s. So many companies would use these to promote their products, from Cartoon Network to Disney to even game companies. Yep, making a game to advertise a game. Don't think about that too much. Of course, one of the biggest companies with this was Nickelodeon. Man, I have a lot of memories playing these. Many weren't that good, so those memories suck in retrospect, but hey, what can you do? Back in 2020, Flash was officially discontinued in most countries. Web-based games use other languages now, usually HTML5. Many games, animations, and websites that use the format have become lost. Many were saved, but still many were lost. Last summer, I was feeling nostalgic for a few of Nickelodeon's Shockwave games. These were from Nick.com that were 3D and used Adobe Shockwave. Shockwave was similar to Flash, just more advanced. These games could be played off of Nick's website or downloaded. A few I remember include the Spongebob 3D movie game, which is the main one I was looking for. I ended up stumbling upon Shockwave.com and looking for Nick games. And I found 3. The first was a TAC game. Remember TAC? I barely do. This game wouldn't play. Oh well. The next one was Mr. Meaty, Treasures of the Deep. Remember Mr. Meaty? I tried not to. This game did play. It was pretty simple. You move the mouse to an object to fish it out of the deep fryer. Not much to it. The last game was based off of Barnyard, a Nick IP that was actually kinda successful. For those who don't know, Barnyard was a 2006 movie about animals protecting their farm, alongside a bunch of random side plots. It was later turned into a 52-episode cartoon, with a few licensed games. I used to have one on GameCube, and I had a friend who had the DS one, but I didn't know about this game. Just a small Shockwave game I would play for a few minutes. Right? Buy for $6.99? Is this like a normal game? Wait, buy it physical? Well, I mean, it's only $14.98. And one poor financial decision later, and here we are. I assume this was burn on demand considering the lackluster visuals. Here I hold what could theoretically be the only physical copy of Barnyard Sherlock Hooves. So rare, so inexpensive. This game was bought from Shockwave Games. This is a game distributor unrelated to Adobe. The website, as you saw, hosts both games to play on and off it, or to purchase for download, or, in this case, have shipped physically. If you're wondering how they have the license to Nickelodeon properties, even older ones like these, it's because it's a subsidiary of Addicting Games. Dang, remember Addicting Games? I don't. I preferred not Doppler. Addicting Games was at one point owned by Viacom, the parent company of Nickelodeon, explaining the licensing. Addicting Games is now owned by the company Enthusiast Gaming. Either Nickelodeon still has the license, or Viacom doesn't care about franchises that don't make them much money. But I think you've listened enough of me rambling about old games to make a cheap buck. For real, if you're still watching this video, thank you so much. But what about the actual game? Why don't we take a look at what this odd disc has to offer? Minimum requirements: Windows Vista, hopefully 10 will work. 128 megabytes of RAM? Shit, I only have 16 gigabytes. Okay, so despite the low specs and general subject matter, the game actually came out in April 2010. Yeah, this game isn't even 13 years old. Honestly, seeing how it looks, the fact that I got it on a backup disc, the subject matter, and how the game was paired with older Nicktoons from 2005 and 2007, I assumed this would be older. But nope, came out August 30th, 2010. This game was developed by Sarbakin, a French-Canadian-based video game developer specializing in mobile games, and the occasional arcade game. They've done other brand IP games like Scooby-Doo Mystery Cases and Frozen Olaf's Adventure on mobile. But they've also worked on larger gaming IPs with arcade games based off of the Rabbids, Rampage, and Tomb Raider. Our game begins with a 2D slideshow of the plot. Otis, the leader of the farm, is woken up from a nap by a loud sound and is approached by his friend Pip. Everyone's gone! And a bunch of stuff has been misplaced! A very odd thing to worry about when people are missing. Pip assumes these two events are connected, which, since this is a video game, they are. So, Pip goes to make a list of every missing object.
There are 5 types of objects. Common objects, broken objects, time-sensitive objects, special tools, and bottles of milk. When you find a common object, it's marked as found on my list.
That's the voice of Jeffrey Garcia, Pip's voice actor from the cartoon, and also the voice of Sheen from Jimmy Neutron. He basically acts as a helper throughout the game. Think of like Navi or Midna from the Zelda series. Or don't, because that was a dumb comparison. Oh, and his getup? He explains it's to help find clues about the missing friends. They never explain why he has it, but the cartoon also had things that made no sense. Like when they became the Beatles, or when they became roommates with a killer, or when Otis dressed in drag and tried to get with a human child, or when he became the father of said child, or when they cloned Otis, or when they tried to kill Weird Al Yankovic only for him to turn out that he's actually a horse. So this game is a hidden object game. Yep, nothing spectacular when it comes to genre, but a serviceable game that was probably easy to program. There are 6 areas to find objects in. A forest, a silo, a barn, a henhouse, a pigsty, and a garden. A few areas are locked when the game starts, so they can't be accessed yet. In addition, the farmer will be wandering around the main map and won't allow you to enter an area he's guarding. A bit out of character, but okay, adds some difficulty. Once you enter an area, it's pretty straightforward. Go through the zone and try to find every hidden object. A lot are actually well hidden. It took me a while to find. I'll give them that. You can also find bottles of milk in the areas, which will give you a hint when you realize you can't win. Some objects will be hidden behind obstacles, and must be dealt with using objects from other areas. For example, in the forest you can find a pair of shears to cut grass, or when you find a hammer for destroying rocks, or other things. So, sometimes you'll have to leave an area and come back after getting the right tool. It's not the most complex system in the world, but it's charming to see what is clearly a simple game have some form of thinking involved. And that's not a diss. This clearly has more effort put into it than most hidden object games. You ever seen Where's Waldo on NES? Yeah, it's not that good. After completing the forest, the game gave me a TV to distract the farmer with, so now he's not much of an issue. Using shears I found in the forest, I was able to find the items in the garden alongside a hammer, a rake, and a flashlight. I used these to go into the henhouse and find all the objects. After that, Pip's machine somehow activated, we were able to find a vacuum. Using the vacuum to make the silo visible, I found the key for the pig pen and found all the objects there. Apparently this place has a flusher? Oh, that isn't mud, is it? It's something else. That's gross, that's nasty, oh God, that made it even worse. How did you make it worse? Oh. Clearly she's suffocating since her mouth and nose are covered. I'll just make it quick. This is Bessie, a character from the movie and show. Apparently she had a run-in with aliens and fell into the pig pen while trying to escape. Doesn't explain how she was tied up or how she didn't suffocate, but sure. They also don't explain why she's in a bikini and heels. Those sick fricks. In the garden I ran into Freddy, another character. He was with his friend Peck when Peck was abducted by the same aliens, so he ran and hid under this cabbage, which Otis calls cauliflower, despite not being cauliflower. Whatever, who cares, I'm looking too far into this. The search continues, and one by one all the missing friends are found, including Pig in a rather snazzy suit. I forgot to mention, this game has an achievement system that unlocks wallpapers for your PC. A minor addition, but a nice one that gives something to go after besides random objects. After saving Abby, we find her in a fancy dress having captured one of the aliens. After saving all of the lost animals, Pip uses his machine to translate what the aliens say. After some interrogation, we found out that all the aliens didn't want to hurt them, but instead wanted to capture them for the annual Intergalactic Animal Contest. Okay. And that's the end. Nothing more after that. I assume maybe I didn't get a full ending because I only got 90% of the objects, but I went back, got them all, and no further ending. Only an achievement to show, and another wallpaper. This game also has a 2-player mode, which can be played against a computer or a real person. I actually asked my friends to play, but for some reason they all said no. I can't imagine why. Here you go to an area and take turns finding items. The quicker you find an item, the more points you'll get. It's nothing much, but it's a bit fun, especially if you're a kid. That's actually what I can say about the game as a whole. It's very far from the most impressive game out there. The art is okay, the music's okay, and the gameplay is nothing to write home about. But I mean, think of the target audience. This wasn't made for a guy in his 20s to play on his Windows 10 PC for a dumb YouTube channel. It was made for a kid or two sitting in front of a slow Windows 7 family computer. Would I recommend this for an average gamer? No. If you want to play it, don't pay for it. You're better off using alternative methods. For legal purposes, I will say legal methods. Heck, I only bought it to see if I would actually receive the physical version in the mail, which I did. That actually makes me think, how many physical versions of this game are made? Am I possibly holding the rarest physical game of all time? I mean, the rarest physical PS4 game of all time is called Poop Flinger. You can download it for a few dollars off the PlayStation Store, but only 84 physical versions exist. And it goes for over $2,000. Maybe this game is worth so much. Thousands of dollars. Or maybe it isn't, and I should end the video. Actually, the video is not done yet, because I have an update. So, while I was looking at the disc and the envelope it came in, I noticed that it was shipped by Defy Media. Like, the Defy Media that shut down, like, 5 years ago? The one that owned Smosh and worked with a lot of other big YouTube channels? The one that was accused by MatPat as being a Ponzi scheme? Yeah, apparently that one. Well, apparently, Defy Media at one point owned Shockwave Games and Addicting Games, until they sold it to Enthusiast Gaming. But that doesn't really explain to me why this letter was marked as coming from Defy Media. Everywhere I did research said that company went defunct in 2018. Are they still somewhat active? Is this proof of that? I wouldn't be able to tell you. In any case, it's just weird.